Let's cross live now to SABC reporter Aldrin St-Pierre, who is in northern Johannesburg outside the Kathrada home. Aldrin, what are you seeing tonight?
Well, yes, sir. Good morning. We are seeing that mourners are making their way here to the Kathrada home ever since actually this afternoon and this morning as well. Even the Deputy President, Cyril Ramaphosa, was amongst those who paid the tribute to Kathrada, as well as condolences to the family of Kathrada, as well as the wife of Kathrada, Miss Barbara Hogan. Okay, I see here we have the EFF leader, Julius Malema, who was amongst those who've been making their way here to come and give their condolences to the Kathrada family. I understand that you've just met with the Mayor Barbara Hogan. How is she doing at this point in time?
Well, Mayor Barbara Hogan, she's doing very well. She's very strong. She's a leader in her own right, and she knows that from time to time we'll have to pass through this passage, and she was actually doing the comforting instead of us comforting her. She became the real mother, and we're encouraged by the way she's handling the whole thing. We lost a giant, we lost a principled leader, and we who are remaining should actually fulfill the mission of Uncle Kathy, and his last wishes should remain our instructions which were given to us by Uncle Kathy.
Just take us back to earlier this morning. He passed away around about 4 o'clock in the early hours of the morning. What went through your mind when you found out that this has actually happened?
Well, I received information last night, very late in the evening, that Uncle Kathy was not doing well, and that anything is possible. And from that time we then began to prepare ourselves, given the fact that Uncle Kathy was also very old, and then we had to go and remember the good things that they've done for us, and that perhaps it is time they need to rest peacefully. They've played their part, and it is very unfortunate because me and Uncle Kathy were working on a possible trip to Robben Island, and I couldn't make it, but I just told Mayor Barbara Hogan that on his birthday I'll have to go to Robben Island for the first time in his honor, and go and salute him and his generation for having fought a successful fight to liberate our people.
Just a final one. What's some of the inspiration that you draw from Uncle Kathy as a politician, active politician yourself at the moment? What are some of the lessons that you draw from this wealth of experience? You know, we're speaking to former President Thabo Mbeki as well, and he kept on mentioning that they will always consult Uncle Kathy on difficult issues, and he was quite resourceful for the ANC specifically.
Uncle Kathy is a very courageous old man who never feared anything, and who always emphasized truth and spoke truth to power. And that is the type of leadership we need. You remember that Uncle Kathy, having liberated us from apartheid regime, was now fighting to liberate us from kleptocracy. And he's the one who wrote a letter to this corrupt president of South Africa. And tomorrow, by the way, that letter of Uncle Kathy will be constituting 365 days without a response from Jacob Zuma, who today wants to come and speak well of Uncle Kathy when he couldn't respond to his letter when he was still alive. So Zuma must know that there is no more a letter to respond. Uncle Kathy is no more. He never wanted to entertain Uncle Kathy when he was still alive. Instead, he went to KwaZulu-Natal and insulted him. Instead, he mobilized people like Malusi Gigaba to insult Uncle Kathy, who was saying to South Africa, we want to liberate this country from kleptocracy. We knew the type of freedom we're fighting for, and what we see now is not what we went to Robben Island for. Zuma must be proud that the dead today died complaining about his conduct and how he's collapsing this country. We are learning from Uncle Kathy that it doesn't matter how powerful a person can be. We have to tell the truth at all times without fear or favor.
Well, thank you so much. There you have it. Quite emotional and quite passionate about the role that Uncle Kathy has played in politics, and even to date, even before his death. And of course, a lot of reference around the letter that Uncle Kathy wrote to President Jacob Zuma, that open letter where he called on the president to heed the call and to make sure that he resigns. And as Julius Malema has indicated, those are some of the instructions that they have received from Uncle Kathy, and they will make sure that they carry this out. And earlier on at the foundation, at the Nelson Mandela Foundation, when there was the tributes, where the tributes were pouring in, this session that just took place, we had some of Uncle Kathy's friends, and one of them was Barbara Masekela, who spoke about Uncle Kathy has died, and she has hoped that Uncle Kathy would have died in a happier time. And unfortunately, the country is facing a crisis at this point in time. But it's just called on young people as well to ensure that they make sure that South Africa reach the ideals that Uncle Kathy stood for. And that's something else that we heard as well from the former president Thabo Mbeki as well, around the role that Uncle Kathy has played. And there has been this speculation around whether the Kathrada family has told President Jacob Zuma that he's not allowed to be part of the funeral, or he will not be allowed to speak at the funeral, taking into consideration the statement that was issued by the presidency earlier this morning, where it indicated that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa would be the person who will be leading the funeral. So much speculation has been around it. I see that there are some reports that are confirming that the family has confirmed that the president is not allowed to speak. But earlier on, when we spoke to the Ahmed Kathrada Foundation director, Mr. Bolton, he indicated that there is no information of that sort, but the presidency itself has not confirmed whether President Jacob Zuma will be at the funeral tomorrow. We also heard from Thabo Mbeki, and that's the other thing, that you take inferences, you draw inferences from the things that are being said at this moment in time, because one thing we can't forget is that politics is also at play. And Mr. Thabo Mbeki, the former president Thabo Mbeki, saying that we will all be at the funeral as expected. Now you draw your own inference with regards to what that means. It's back to you in studio.
Thank you very much, Aldrin, and we'll follow that tomorrow. A final question. You were saying on one hand there was an outpouring today. On the other hand, a lot of people talking about the state of the country. Was anyone picking up the link with the finance minister? Because we must remember that Ahmed Kathrada supported him very publicly last year.
Unfortunately, not a lot of emphasis around Pravin Gordhan, but during the press briefing that former President Thabo Mbeki gave early on, one of the questions that was asked is what's the former president's take on the current the current uncertainty whether the finance minister Pravin Gordhan will remain in his job. We heard earlier on from reports that when he arrived at the North Gauteng High Court, he did indicate that he still remains the finance minister, so that is still in place. But Thabo Mbeki is saying that we'll have to wait and see exactly how government will deal with this matter. He refused blank out to comment with regards to the current uncertainty that the country is facing.
All right, thank you very much. Aldrin Sampear reporting live from outside the Kathrada home tonight in northern Johannesburg.